After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, we discuss the band from Fort Smith, Arkansas, known as the Handshake Murders. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment, tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener to the History of the Corps podcast, Erik. What's up, Erik?
Oh, the sky, price of milk.
He's got the flannel
Life.
on and a short sleeve underneath. That means spring or fall is here. Yeah.
Yep.
It's the in between. It's the in between look. It's like, I'm cold in the morning, but I might have to shed this because it's about to get hot in the afternoon when the sun breaks out,
Right.
man. Yeah. Yep. Hey, speaking of sunshine and flannel shirts, half of that's probably going to be connected to this band. Let's go ahead and talk about a band known as the Handshake Murders. Could be very unknown to a lot of people. I think we said this on the original episode on the History of the Corps podcast. I say it again here. Go look this band up because, they only have one full-length album, a couple of EPs, and some demos. They deserve more respect than people give them. I probably would have to guess, I don't have the number in front of me, but I would probably have to guess maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 if we're lucky of Spotify listeners monthly. Let's get those numbers up, people. Come on, what are we doing? Let's get these numbers
Those
up.
are
This is
rookie
a good
numbers.
band.
Pump them
Those
up.
are rookie numbers. Noobs. This band is not a noob. Yeah. I think I know the answer to this first question, Erik, but I got to ask it anyway. How were you introduced to the Handshake Murders?
I definitely remember you and Josh talking about them back in the day.
Okay.
And I don't know that I ever gave them a shot. though.
Okay. But then we reinforced it with the good old History of the Corps podcast episode, right?
That is true. Yep. I never gave them a shot until that came out. So
Nice. Okay.
don't you love to
See?
hear that?
We're making a difference in people's lives, people. One person at a time.
Making waves.
One person at a time. Making waves. All right, so you've listened to their complete discography. I mean, again, not much meat on that sandwich there at all. Very one thinly sliced piece of meat in between two pieces of bread. How would you describe the Handshake Murders to a brand new listener, Erik?
Pretty much old school deathcore-ish metalcore.
Okay.
Those-
Deathcore.
those
That's
vocals
interesting.
They kind of sink into that deathcore-ish area. I mean, not 100%, but like that old school deathcore from, that era.
Okay.
They kind of sink into that just a little bit at times.
Okay.
And maybe that leans it a little bit into that album art too, though.
Yeah. Well, woo. We'll talk about it.
It's a rough one.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it, man, because that's pretty gnarly. Okay, so I asked Josh this on the original episode. I'm gonna ask you now. Being around for almost 11 years, releasing, one full-length album entitled Usurper, 2 EPs, which is Burying the Effigy, which actually features some clean vocals, which is kind of interesting. And then the other EP is entitled Essays on the Progression of Man, What Time and Earth Would Not Bury, along with several demos to prepare for a possible second full-length album that never saw the light of day. Do you feel, Erik, that in that time period they were able to nail down what they wanted their sound to be?
As a whole, I feel like they did. I
Okay.
mean, when you're a new band, you're going to do a little hunting and pecking, trying to
For
figure
sure.
out exactly what you want to do.
Right.
But I do feel the growth, the evolution from the early EPs to the full length or Usurper, and
Yeah.
I think it's the same basic sound, just with growth. You know,
Right. Little tweaks here and
as time
there.
goes
Yeah.
on, right? You're going to tweak a few things. You're going to mature in a few areas. So that's kind of what I feel overall. It's pretty much there. It's their sound,
Okay.
just
Coming
growing up.
from, yeah, especially coming from, so I think Jason's the only one that's in this band that came from Eso-Charis. You've probably heard me talk about Eso-Charis before. That was the band that had Jason Holmes, who's the vocalist here in Handshake Murders, and that's where Corey Putman was from too. They were doing duo vocals or whatever. Um, Kind of more of like a math core, kind of Dillinger-esque, kind of like really raw sound. Definitely, you probably brought some things from that, but they definitely didn't like continue from Eso-Charis into Handshake Murders. Handshake Murders is more. It's weird to say polished because it's still kind of raw, but more polished than what Eso-Charis was for sure. But speaking of Jason Holmes, the vocalist. His vocals have always been, rough. Josh even talked about, seeing him in concert, constantly smoking cigarettes between sets, and I'm pretty sure that probably contributes to that rough, gruffy vocal style that he has. But listening to the second EP, Essays on the Progression of Man, What Time and Earth Would Not Bury, his rough vocal style personally makes me think of Todd Lowry from Once Nothing. Again, if we're going to talk about bands that need more appreciation, give Once Nothing a listen too while you're at it. Because if I gotta beat you over the head with it, then I will. But it needs to be this. That's another band that just needs to be listened to. It's that southern kind of blue collar, roughness. Um, do you hear that as well, or do you hear something different? Maybe.
I think the early EPs do have that southern blue collar rough goodness we like. That's literally what I wrote. It's literally what you just said. So, I mean, I
Mm,
think we're on the same page on that.
mm,
Um, only word I could really think of difference between like the early stuff and say some of the later ones
mhm.
is breathiness.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Okay.
the the album, the later three are less breathy than the
Right.
early stuff, and I think that attributes it to being a little more raw, being a little more breathy,
Right.
a little more oomph to it, and that maybe because he was a heavy chain smoker.
He's
He's got less breath to push. I don't know, but that's
yeah.
the kind of
Is
sound I was hearing. Is just there's a little less breathiness to it,
right.
less expended energy or something.
It's
But
bad when it's like you're smoking the cigarette all the way up until like that first note hits. You put it out, and I mean, the moment that you get done with your vocals is like light it up again. Like here we go. It's like I'm surprised the guy didn't smoke during the set. To be honest with you, this cigarette in one hand, microphone in the other. Like, "Ugh, ugh." Actually,
yeah,
that'd be kind
man,
of cool. Is he screaming just like smoke's coming out of his mouth? Kind of an interesting look to you. No,
that
I'll
would
tell
be
you
pretty
what,
cool.
nobody
Actually,
else is doing it, man.
that is
Yeah,
true. That is very true.
I do like to start out the day, Eric, with a hearty bowl of Southern blue collar roughness. I don't know about you, but delicious. All right, Eric.
Yum, yum, yum.
I've got one trivia question for you on this here episode. Are you ready for it? It's all or nothing, buddy.
Let's have it.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. What band, excuse me, let me back up. Let me start over. What drummer from a band that you and I, both really like, and that we've talked about on this podcast here, contributed to the artwork for the essays on the progression of man, what time on earth would not bury EP. You got this one. I know you do, buddy.
I can see his face.
I believe in you, Eric.
The name is slipping. It was in Norma Jean.
Mm-hmm.
I think about Redeemer-ish time, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Golly, what?
Dig deep, buddy. Dig deep. That first name's common-ish. I mean, it's not like something crazy, but
Not like Skylar / Scroomer.
yeah, exactly right.
Or however we were saying that to begin with.
The first part,
Schuler,
I think
that was it,
we were saying Schuler. Schuler crew. Yeah. Oops, it's Skylar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
No, oops. But Golly. That's
Venture
the
a
crazy
guess.
part. I know exactly who it is, but I can't think of his name. Oh man. And he's moved around to several different bands that we talked about and we like. And
can you tell me who those bands are at least? Besides you, so I've got 3 written down. He's been in other ones, but I've got 3 written down. You've got Norma Jean, but what other 2 bands has he been in before?
Was it? Now I say that now don't you love it when you have an oral test and it's just woo,
right.
There goes all at the
right. Ooh, flying away.
So let's see. Was it? Wasn't Under Oath, was it?
Yep, that's 2. So you got Norma Jean, Under Oath.
I was like,
you need one more, buddy. If you get this third one right, I'll go ahead and count it as a win.
I wish I had posters on my wall here so I could.
He's just. I'll tell you what he's doing. He's just looking out his backyard window,
staring right into my shed, not telling me anything.
And neighbor senior's like, "What is that guy doing?"
Let's see. Man.
Got to venture a guess here because we're spending way too much time on this.
Yeah. Okay. The Chariot. I don't know.
Okay. No.
I didn't think so. But
do you have a name to throw out possibly?
Joe Malarkey.
Oh, so close, buddy. So close.
Oh
no. The 3 bands that he used to be in, Norma Jean. He was actually a founding member of Norma Jean. He was in Under Oath for the Disambiguation album, and he was with Every Time I Die for Low Teens album. Yeah. And I think just Low Teens, his name is Daniel Davison.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in you, buddy. Disappointed. No, it's all good. It's tough. I mean, it's one thing. It's like you want me to name a band, I can do that. You want me to name a guys? I mean, sometimes there's 4 or 5 people in a band. You only remember every single name in there. Yeah, that's all good. You still don't get that.
2 out of 3 of the bands, but yeah. Anyway, 25%. That's Alex.
25. Okay, we'll give 25 points off that. All right, Eric. Again, very thinly sliced meat in between 2 pieces of bread. Give me your opinion on their one and only full-length album, Usurper.
I will quote Norma Jean here since we spoke of them moments ago.
Okay. Here we go.
They have a song called Full Circle in under a minute.
Okay.
The lyrics are, less is more, but I need more. So I really do enjoy it. I would like more out of this. The musically very solid, vocally very solid. Album artwork makes me extremely uncomfortable. Yeah, it's just cringe. On that note, I remember going.
Is it one of those where it's like you see it and you kind of adjust in your chair, like
yeah, just man. Like, my mouth hurts now. But
Oh, good. It's not me.
I remember going to, it was Borders bookstore back in the day.
Oh
Back when
gosh.
Borders
Yep.
had
Here we go.
physical locations. I'm not even sure they
Here we
still do at
go.
all, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I picked up a album that I thought looked kind of interesting, and it was turned out to be Slipknot, and it was a special edition album with a paper cover on it. And I got to looking at it and had the zipper crazy looking thing on the front, and
Oh, yeah,
apparently
yeah.
it was supposed to be like human skin.
Mhm.
And I think I literally threw that album. Like,
Ooh.
"Ah!" Like, I don't know what to do with that.
Hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer.
Clean me.
Unclean.
So-
Unclean.
Not quite as bad, but this album artwork gives me that kind of same vibes of, ooh, I don't want to touch it. Like,
It's
oof,
interesting.
man.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
interesting. It's a little rough to look at. So,
Brutal.
yeah. But anyway, not quite as bad as that one where I physically threw that album away from me, but
Right.
it is definitely
Ah,
brutal.
man.
And that may be what kind of leads me to think a little more deathcore vibes in some of the sounds.
Okay.
I hear,
Yeah.
too.
And I can get that. Yeah. It's very dark. It's very, very brutal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I'm in for a rude awakening here on this album. I do like what you said about they're using the Norma Jean lyrics there. Less is more, but I need more and more. Sometimes less is not enough, buddy. It's
Yeah,
very
I need more.
simplistic, but yeah, I need more of it, man. I need more of it. Yeah, I mean, you got stuff like, obviously the signature song, Painted Contortionist. That's
Oh,
brutal.
yeah.
Um, Josh talked about the creepy soundbite of I think he said it was kind of like a surgeon or it's like a surgery like walkthrough or something. Is something about like that soundbite in the song Error. And it's kind of like they get that guitar riff going in the background too that ends up going into the next song. It's that bum 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 bum. And then I always liked the second song, Bloodline. I always liked that kind of like time change part on it. And they do it several times. It's just, yeah, they've very simplistic album, a lot going on, but oh man, they made it work. So, and I would have loved to have heard future works, even a second album, maybe just one more. But man,
Right.
and that's the thing about it is like listening to this one album just leaves you wanting so much more. And it was just so unfortunate that they ended up not doing it anymore and just breaking up. And then now, it's one of those like, well, they could get back together. And unfortunately now Jason's passed away. Um, and so it's unfortunate, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't do like a benefit show or something like that where like Corey stepped in and like did vocals or
Right.
something like that. But maybe they just feel like now we're all kind of do our own thing and we're just gonna let him rest, or whatever. So and yeah, anything else for your opinion on Usurper? Can't go wrong with that
Let's see
album
if I have
title
any
either, man.
notes. No, that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, da, da, da. I mean, it's a good album. I mean, back to front to back, it's actually pretty good. I enjoy listening to it over and over. I mean, you don't have much other choice if you're going to listen to the Handshake Murders,
Right.
but it's not like it's a bad album either. It's
No,
not like,
no. Yeah.
It is solid. So it holds its own even, amongst today's music. So
Right. Cool. All right, Eric. Now it's time for a battle. A breakdown battle. Got two songs here for you, Eric. I've got the Handshake Murders, Painted Contortionist versus Symphony in Perils, Stiletto. Which is your favorite breakdown of those two? And then all time, what is your favorite breakdown?
that is really a tough choice, honestly. But I think I have to go with Stiletto.
Okay. It's a good one, man.
It is
That's
a
good
really
one.
tight race. Like it's not like I'm not going to.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, either one you can't go wrong with. Really. That being said, I've historically been very vocally against breakdowns.
Mhm.
First time I ever heard the word, it was talking about this chug-a-luggy mosh pit maker type
Chug-a-lug,
sound.
chug-a-lug. Right.
And it on an album, it feels lazy to me. I mean, that's just where I stood for a very long time on the subject. It's like
I
a
never
solo,
liked,
but
yeah.
lacking talent.
Well, I just almost like, I didn't like the fact that it was like overdone. It was like, oh, here comes the breakdown. It's like, oh, here we go again, you know. It just felt like to a
Right.
certain point, everybody just kind of copy and pasting it. It's like, well, you expect it to come. I want to be surprised by that stuff. You know, I don't want to go, all right, here's the next song. Wonder when the breakdown's gonna happen, you know.
Right.
I want it to be organic. I want it to be natural, not all right. There's track 2 now. What's the breakdown gonna be on this one, guys? So
Yeah. So, far as probably the breakdown, I do tend to, walking around the street or whatever, it just pops in my head is Job for a Cowboy, Suspended by the Throat.
I haven't heard this before.
Something about, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm all about the song, or whatever, because looking at the lyrics,
Right.
I don't know. But, going from that kind of, the rest of the song is kind of chug-a-luggy, a little slow, a little bit of a building, and then there's a break, and then he goes dun da da dun da da dun da da dun dun dun, and then suspended, so epic,
Right.
and that is the way a breakdown should be. Is gets my heart rate up, gets me moving. Again, if I was in the crowd in that pit, I'd be riding this surfing across the top. So,
Yeah.
like I said, not that nowadays that I'm so into Job for a Cowboy, but that's when I think of a breakdown, that's how I should feel. Stiletto is a good example. Painted Contortionist is another pretty good example. It's not just a breakdown to have the sake of a breakdown.
Right.
Here's another one, chug-a-lug-a-lug.
You're ready for the chug-a-lug part, people. All aboard the chug-a-lug.
Light the comment section on fire here. So.
Oh, man. All right, Eric, let's wrap this episode up with our usual finale, your favorite. I didn't put album because there's really only one album. And we already talked about enough, but give me some of your favorite, maybe songs, lyrics, riffs, so on and so forth.
Well, I did write album,
Okay.
It's a surfer, but anyway.
Oh my gosh. What?
Moving right along. The lyrics are definitely hard to find.
Yes, that's a bad thing about it. I don't get that.
I think Josh mentioned the original. You got 3. Yeah. I think there's literally 3. I've gone to 5 different sites and I found 3.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes with his very sludgy sounding vocals, it's hard to make heads or tails of exactly what he's saying. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, let's see. I did get some from, let's see, that's from Bloodline. It says, lines of evil men who regret nothing. Their hands smooth as silk, white, porcelain mouths stitching lies.
Nice.
I wish I had more of their lyrics. After reading that, I was like,
yes,
that's pretty good.
I'm going to make a plea right now. If you at one time owned this album or still have it or whatever, and you got the lyric booklet, do everybody a favor and go online to one of these lyric websites and put the lyrics out there. Just, about 5-10 minutes of your day. That's all, or send it to me and I'll do it.
We'd be eternally grateful.
Tweet us at Is Survived By Productions.
Yes.
Is Survived By Pro, actually. There you go. On Twitter. Yeah.
On X.
On X. X. Yeah.
Previously Twitter. So here's a really simple one for you from Painted Contortionist. I'll rip your throat out. And that's another one of those, the way he just delivers that line. So good. So good.
So gnarly. Yeah.
But as far as favorite songs go, again, they're all pretty good. It was a really hard pick. Top 2 are for sure, pretty cemented in place for me. Third one's kind of where I'm at right now. Today, I feel like this song's number 3. But anyway, so we'll hit number 3.
Number 3
is How to Kill.
Oh, teach me.
I enjoy it. kind of kicks off the back half of the album, I guess.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Number 2 is Bloodline, like you already mentioned.
Yes. Yes.
It's a good one. I like it.
That's such a good one. That's such a good one.
And before we get to number 1, I do want to say, if you can find them, the later EP, like the singles that they released for that last EP, technically, those 3 songs are actually pretty good. They're harder to find.
Yeah, are you talking about after Usurper or before Usurper?
Right, after.
Yes. Yeah, the only place that I could find them was on YouTube.
And I did that, but I had to do some digging.
Really?
Like, they're not the easiest thing. They're not like top level YouTube.
Right, yeah.
Front page or nothing like that. You're going to have to do some digging to find them.
Right.
If you can find them, they are pretty good.
That's the thing that sucks, man, because it's like, that you tell me this is what the future would have been, you know? So like,
Right. So, yeah. Anyway, if you can find those are some special mentions. But anyway, let's get to number 1 here.
Number 1.
I think it's the classic track, Painted Contortionist.
What?
I think we kind of talked about it, but that breakdown.
I don't know.
Epic.
He's going to rip your throat out, buddy. He's going to rip your throat out.
Better believe it.
Yeah, you better believe it. I believe it. The way you delivered it, I believed it. Never had it out.
Absolutely.
All righty, Eric. Final thoughts on the band known as the Handshake Murders.
Kind of like a Life Once Lost. These guys deserve a little bit more, love in the comment section or anywhere else for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So give them a listen. Give them a shot. They got one full length. It's like 37 minutes. Give it a shot.
Let it be your new addiction. And then they stop with one album and then you're like, but I need more, man. I need more. Oh, God, you got to let me have more.
Join me saying, I need more.
I need more. Yes. All righty, buddy. Let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the History of the Chorus podcast, where I sit down with Josh and we talk about the history of bands from the core genre. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders. And we've also got the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. And also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us, see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived By Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. Alrighty, until the next episode, we'll see you.